Evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Dropping the Gloves. Thank you for joining me. Oh my goodness, I can barely cross my legs. I always do give the legs a little cross when I start, but I played basketball with the kids 2 days ago. I had shin splints coming out the yin yangs. I had to wake up in the middle of the night and do a little walk around the house because my shins and legs were killing me from playing basketball for 30 minutes. Then I've been starting up my hockey league and I'm just sore, cutting wood. I'm just getting old, man, feeling the age. But anyways, all that aside, I appreciate everybody for joining me here. The season is in full swing, and it's funny how life works because it, the beginning of the season is such a beautiful time. Optimism is in the air. Spring has sprung, so to speak. The birds are singing. There's plants growing, the flowers are in bloom. Everybody is just super excited to start this season. Everybody has a clean slate. Teams, coaches, players, everybody. You're starting from square one. You can have a great season. It all starts with the first week. And we had Tage Thompson on the show before the start of the season, before his first game. And if anybody needed a fresh start, if anybody wanted to press the reset button, it was my former team, the Buffalo Sabres. 14 years of just atrocious hockey. And not 14 years of, almost making the playoffs. 1 point out. It's been 14 years of dysfunction. 14 years of failure, of not even close to making the playoffs. Yeah, maybe they were in the hunt the last month, but then they inevitably lose 9 in a row and they're out, not even close. That's been the modus operandi for the Buffalo Sabres for the last decade. Stretches where you get a little excited. Oh, maybe. You know what? We're gonna get that gorilla off our back. This is it. We've turned the corner. These boys are starting to learn. Oh, we signed somebody. Oh, we got a big star to come in. Here we go, Buffalo. Ba, 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 ba. Let's go, Buffalo. And then lo and behold, a zebra cannot change his spots, and they suck again. But not this year. Tage Thompson comes on the show. Great interview. I love the guy. He says, this is going to be different. I love this locker room. I can just feel it. And then the first game, you lose to the Rangers. They were in that game. I know they lost 5-0. It was a close game up until the third. Then it was just everything went wrong. And then after that, they played some tough teams. Boston, Colorado. And like I was talking to Chage about, the feelings start to creep back in. And the bad thing about being consistently bad, the bad thing about having consistently bad outcomes is whenever things start to maybe turn 50-50 where they could go good or could go bad, you always choose the bad route because that's what you know. That is ingrained in you. A habit is learned, and once you learn that habit, it's hard to kick that habit. In order to kick a bad habit, you have to replace it with a good habit. And the Sabres have not replaced any of their bad habits with good habits because they don't know how. If they're up a goal in the third period, which they haven't been this year, they don't know how to hold that lead because they've never been in that position. If they're down a goal, which they are all the time, they don't know how to score that goal and take the lead because they have never done it. So all of these bad habits, all of these memories come swarming in at the start of the season. When you lose that first game, you're like, oh boy, here we go. Then you play the Bruins and you lose that game 3-1, a close game, but you lose it because that's what you know. And then the Avalanche come in and you're like, great, the Colorado Avalanche. And then the fans are throwing the jersey on the ice because they're tired of it too. They don't want to endure another 79 games of this. And then it's already done, you guys. They've only played 3 games. And in my eyes, maybe they could have won all 3 of them. There were moments of those games where it could have went either way. But like I said, being the Sabres, being that they have struggled the last 14 years, I've been a part of that struggle. I know what it's like. I was in that locker room. You go down 1 goal, you go down 2 goals, and your mindset goes, okay, let's just not try to get blown out. Or I don't, and then you go selfish. You go, I don't want to be -3, -4. Or I need to get some stats, or I need to get a fight. You try to limit the damage. And then next thing you know, you wake up, it's the end of October, and you've won maybe 3 games, and you've lost 12. And the season is over at that point. It's November 1, and you have no reason to play anymore. And what becomes a team game to start the season, full of endless possibilities. This could be the year we're going to be in the mix. We are a team to be reckoned with. We're going to take that next step. That gets replaced with, dang, I need to get some points because I need to have a contract for next season for these bubble guys. And when you look at the team, there are a lot of bubble guys on this team. There are not a lot of core guys when you look at this roster and you go, I'm going to build this team around them. Yeah, there's a select few, the Tage Thompsons, the Dahleens, the Power, and Power maybe not so much anymore, but the 3 or 4 of them are the guys who are like, okay, long term, I'm building my team around you guys. But then you look at the other 18 guys, you go, are you worth sticking around? Tuck, Greenway, Jack Quinn, Danforth, Krebs, Malenstein, Benson, Doan, all of these guys, young and old, Bowen Byram, Samuelson, Timmins, Kesselring, everybody we brought in, are you worth sticking around? Are you worth the squeeze? Can we rely on you? And then you start looking outwards. The coach, Lindy Ruff, what are we doing here? Second time around. Is he worth it? The GM, Kevin Adams, why are you still here? I saw Kevin last year. He looked like a beaten man. I had a nice conversation with him. He's a great guy. He asked about my family. I asked about his family. He looked dejected. Mind you, this is at the end of last season. Last season was tough. But he managed to keep his job somehow, some way. Where does he go from here? Presidents. What happens to the Sabres president? I don't even know who the hell it is this anymore. What happens to that person? The owner. Ever since the owner took over, Terry and Kim Pagula in 2011, this team has gone from a very competitive team, almost winning the Stanley Cup, to they haven't done anything in the last 14 years. They've been abject failure, and I've said it time and time again. It starts from the top. And when you take over a team, and then you have 4 or 5 GMs, and you have 3, 4, or 5 presidents, and you have 4, 5, 6 coaches in a short period of time, maybe it's not the people you employ, and maybe it's you. And I'm not saying they're going to have a coup and oust this owner because he does spend a lot of money for this team, but I think he's spending it in the wrong areas, obviously. Kevin Adams is, and I love the guy. I love him. He's been the GM now for 4 years. He's got a 300 winning percentage. That's really, really bad. Like, that's really, really bad. All these other guys, the GMs, the coaches, all these people, you have to try to mix it up a little bit. And I just feel bad for Tage Thompson. I really, really do. You know, he seems passionate. He seems invested. He seems like he wants to really make it work in Buffalo. But at what point do you have to ask for a trade? At what point do you just have to look in the mirror and go, I can't do anything more. I'm 27 years old. I want to win. I need to value my self-worth, my mental sanity and health, instead of just trying to, right a sinking ship. And I feel bad because I'm a Bruins guy through and through. They gave me a chance. I played there. I grew up watching the Sabres. They were one of my favorite teams. And, I just don't know. They make a couple good signings, a couple good draft picks, and then they blow it up by trading a young player, Savoy, or trading. And I know Dylan Cousins isn't that guy, but he's a great player, and he plays the game the right way. And bringing in a Joshua Norris, who's on the injured reserve. So I really don't know where they will go from here. It's not like they're getting a cupcake schedule. Their next few games, listen to this lineup. Does a win seem to be on the horizon for the Buffalo Sabres in the next 2 weeks? They get the Ottawa Senators. They just lost Brady Tkachuk. Maybe they get a win there. They get the Florida Panthers after that. Florida's on a really, really good team, even with Barkov and Tkachuk out. Montreal Canadiens, they're having a great season. Detroit Red Wings, just won a back-to-back with Toronto. They're playing really good hockey. Then they get Toronto back-to-back, who are probably licking their chops to get a couple easy wins. Then maybe they get a win with the Columbus Blue Jackets. So that is 7 games: Ottawa, Florida, Montreal, Detroit, Toronto, until you get a win. So conceivably, if you're the Buffalo Sabres, it's looking like you're starting the season 0-10. I hope that's not the case. But if you're listening to me, send me a message and tell me which one of these teams they'll be favored against and you think they'll win. I don't know. Blue Jackets, I think, are the one where, okay, I can see them maybe beating the Blue Jackets. But even then, I guess they're always the underdog any game they play. But boy, oh boy, it's so funny how not even a week, it hasn't even been a week, 5 days can change everything. And it can affect the next 5 months. That's all it takes. A bounce here, a tip there, a redirection. Anything can happen to change those games, and instead of losing 3-1 to Boston, maybe you win 3-2. But you're 0-3 now. You've scored 2 goals. And when you listen to the press conference Tage Thompson gives, and when you listen to Rasmus Dahlin when he's talking to the press, does it sound like a team who's optimistic? Does it sound like a leadership group that's excited to come to the rink? Do they sound like guys who expect to win? No. They sound like players who are frustrated. They sound like players who don't know what's next. And they sound like players who honestly don't want to be there. And that's not good when that's your leadership group. And it's only 3 games into the season. So if I'm Lindy Ruff and I'm Kevin Adams and Terry Pagula, and I know they've probably done this before, but they need to really, really have a come to Jesus moment and figure out, what are we doing here with this franchise? Because so far it's not working. And based on the first 3 games in 2025, holy hell, it's not good. It's not good at all. All right, moving on. Staying with their division. Kent Hughes is a magician. Kent Hughes got a hold of the Montreal Canadiens and everybody was questioning his signing. Oh, he's an agent. What does he know about anything? How is he going to pan out? He has done nothing but revamp this lineup. When he arrived, was full of decent players, but no direction. Not a lot of young guys, minus the top few, obviously Suzuki and Caulfield. He has transformed this roster into a very, very good team presently, but he has positioned them now to be a dangerous team in the next 4 years, man. The acquisition of Noah Dobson, getting Ivan Demidov, drafting Slafkovsky, re-signing Caulfield and Suzuki, and now the pièce de la résistance, with the salary cap going up and all the money being injected and all these players signing big ticket deals. Lane Hutson, your 21-year-old reigning Calder Trophy winner, the Dynamo Kid from Holland, Michigan, right down the road from yours truly, has just signed an 8-year deal with the Montreal Canadiens for $8.85 million. We just had a brain explosion with the Connor McDavid contract. Like, oh my goodness, he signed for 12.5. That's insane. Connor McDavid did that because he had already made his bank. The guy's made probably $100 million already in his career. He signed for 2 years. He will make another $100 million more. He has endorsements. He wants to win because he's been in the league for 10 years and he wants that ring. He wants the cup. He wants the hardware. The big one. Lane Hutson has played 85 games, you guys. 85 games. He probably still drives like a Toyota Corolla. He has not made a lot of money in the NHL. He's coming off his entry-level contract where he made $950 last year. He's making $950 this year. He didn't get any of it when he was 19 because he only played 2 games, so he probably got maybe half a paycheck and made $2, $3, $4 grand. That's it. So it's not like he's rolling on dubs and, he's got a big mansion. He signs a very team-friendly deal. His first big contract. And you might think, oh, $8.85 million, that's a lot of money. Yeah. He is worth north of $10 million. When you look at what other young defensemen have signed, what guys signed for that do what he does, Kent Hughes has just fleeced Lane Hutson for the next 8 years, and he is in his prime. This isn't like he's signing an Erik Karlsson type deal when you get that money and you've already played your best hockey and you sign that $10 million contract and you can ride off into the sunset and just get traded around because nobody wants your albatross of a contract. The kid's 21 years old. He's still feeling his way in the NHL. And now he is on a team-friendly contract for a long time. Jake Sanderson, just down the road from him, signed last year, 8 years, $8 million. Luke Hughes signed this year, 7 years, $9 million. And then we can go on and on about the defensemen who've signed. There are a lot of defensemen who make a lot of money in the NHL, and none of them. I would rather. Well, let me just say this: of the top 10 paid defensemen, I would probably take maybe Adam Fox, maybe Werenski, and Dahlin. Maybe. But those are all maybes. And they're all older than Lane Hutson. Definitely not Karlsson. Doughty's old. Dobson, I like him, but no thank you. Seth Jones, McAvoy, Darnell Nurse, Roman Josi, Chychrun, even Dougie Hamilton. Cale Makar, obviously I'm taking Cale, but there's so many guys who make more money than Lane Hutson. And the beautiful thing about Lane Hutson, the upside for him is through the roof. So Kent Hughes, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Because you have all of a sudden turned this Montreal Canadiens team into a solid defensive team that is scary if I'm looking at this roster. I got a Caden Gooley who is really, really solid. I got Noah Dobson, who I've fleeced the New York Islanders for. I have a Lane Hutson. I have the Beef and Arbor Jack guy. I have a Carrier who's just a really good, solid defenseman, and Mike Matheson who just does it all. Not to mention a Struble. I have an unbelievable starting six. And how do you win championships? How do you win championships? As I've been saying for years, strong down the middle and solid on the back end. That's how you win championships, everybody. And the Montreal Canadiens have not so quietly done this in a very short period of time. And I don't know about you, but the Ottawa Senators, everybody was looking forward to them. Oh, the Toronto Maple Leafs, look out. Oh, the Boston Bruins are reloading. Oh, the Florida Panthers are going to be dangerous. Don't sleep on this Montreal Canadiens team. Don't sleep on them at all. They made the playoffs last year. It had been a while since they made the playoffs, I think since the bubble. But they did make the Stanley Cup Finals. But that was kind of a throwaway season. They are a team that I would be very, very, very worried about playing in the playoffs, and I'm excited to watch them. They're going to be a good team. They've started the season hot. They're 3-1. They're putting up goals. They're fun to watch. Don't look now. I hated the Montreal Canadiens growing up. Absolutely hated them. They might be my new favorite team. They're fun to watch. They got dynamic players on the back end. They got really, really fun players up front. They could use, they got Beef. They got Jack Guy. I like Josh. They got a little bit of everything. But it all starts with getting the players paid, and Lane Hutson signs a very team-friendly deal. Kent Hughes, good job. He just got re-upped too. The Montreal Canadiens are doing everything right. Moving on. Talking about teams that maybe aren't doing everything right. Hold on. A little sip of the old coffee. The New York Rangers. Another one of my former teams. Now, I know it's early, and maybe it's too early to press the panic button, but if there was one team in the NHL that should press the panic button, that maybe they thought they would turn the corner and have a resurgence this year after a lackluster 2024-25, that team is the New York Rangers. Maybe the Nashville Predators, but the New York Rangers specifically. They go out, they get a new coach, Mike Sullivan, from the Pittsburgh Penguins. He was an assistant coach there for years under John Tortorella when they were in their heyday, going to the conference finals, going to the Stanley Cup finals. He is a very good coach. He goes to Pittsburgh, wins 2 Stanley Cups, gets fired, comes back to New York, Everything's good again. Brings in JT Miller, names him the captain, revamps the defense, bringing in Gavrikov from the LA Kings, getting rid of Keandre Miller, trying to revamp this roster, getting rid of Chris Kreider, getting rid of all these other old guys. They're trying to inject some youth, inject some life, inject some just hard-nosed type plays with accountability into this roster, where maybe for the last couple years, accountability, hard work, intestinal fortitude wasn't what the New York Rangers were known for. Whereas when they were a team coached by John Tortorella, you knew what you were getting. You were getting a lunch pail type team, and if the players didn't like it, they would be benched, they would be healthy scratched, and they would be shipped out of town. Well, early results are in. And the Rangers are struggling. They've already played 5 games, and they just actually made NHL history tonight, which is very exciting. Yeah, unless the history is getting shut out the first 3 games at home, which is what the New York Rangers have done. And mind you, this is a New York Rangers team that is one of the top teams in the NHL as far as salary cap goes. They pay their players a lot of money. They pay their forwards a lot of money to score goals. You're looking at a Panarin who's making 11, Zibanejad, JT Miller, Lafreniere, Trocheck. All of these guys are paid to score. On the back end, you got Adam Fox. You got some players who can move the puck. You haven't scored at all. You have been shut out 3 straight games at home. The games you have won on the road, you've beat the Sabres and you beat the Pittsburgh Penguins. 2 teams that are expected to be nowhere near the playoffs at the end of the season. So, New York, where do we go from here? Is it a case where we just ship everybody out? Chris Drury, what are we doing? I'm pressing the panic button and I'm pressing it early. Panarin hasn't looked engaged. Zibanejad hasn't looked engaged. JT Miller, are the cracks starting to show? I don't know. But we all know how it goes when JT Miller gets upset and his team doesn't play hard and the results aren't there. We saw it first with the Rangers, then we saw it with the Vancouver Canucks, and now he's the captain. Now he's got the C on his chest and everybody looks to him. He's the leader of this team. It's going to be interesting. But if I'm Mike Sullivan, I am pressing that panic button. I know it's early. It's only been a week into the season. But we cannot endure, if I'm the New York Rangers, another season of failure. We went from winning the President's Trophy 2 years ago, 114 points in 82 games. They were a dynamic team. To last year, falling all the way out of the wild card. A 40-point, almost a 50-point drop last year. Supposed to have a bounce back year this year, and all of a sudden we start like this, where we've already played the most games in the NHL, and we're out of the playoff picture already. And I know it's only 5 games, but you guys, you need to set yourself up for the Thanksgiving in the USA and then Christmas. And by that time, you're locked and loaded and you know where you stand. So if you start the season on a streak like this, where you're losing and you're already behind the 8 ball and you're already, 2, 3, 4 games behind and you're already 6 points back, it's hard to dig out from that hole. I've been there. I've seen it. So they need to make a move quick, or else this season, much like the Buffalo Sabres, could spiral out of control. Speaking of spiraling out of control, is the New York State the worst state for hockey ever this year? Potentially. Rangers suck. The Islanders haven't won. The Sabres haven't won. It's going to be fun to watch because the Sabres always get forgotten of as a New York team. But yeah, all 3 teams in New York State right now are very, very bad. But on the other side of the coin, teams are doing good. Teams are surprising me. And I know the San Jose Sharks haven't had a win. They're playing good. They haven't had a regulation win. They haven't had a regulation loss. They've got both losses in overtime or a shootout, so good for them. But to be more specific, the juggernauts in each conference, they're showing up. Specifically, I know the friends of the show, my Patreon boys will be excited for this, and girls. We don't discriminate. Boys and girls are. The Dallas Stars and the Carolina Hurricanes, I think, are already distinguishing themselves as head and shoulders above the rest. The Carolina Hurricanes have started this season hot, and they show no signs of slowing down. They had a good, solid win against the Philadelphia Philadelphia Flyers last night. They beat the New Jersey Devils. They're playing solid hockey, and they're doing it the way the Carolina Hurricanes do it. Everybody's contributing. Seth Jarvis, friend of the show, is playing really, really good hockey. And on the other side of the coin, the Dallas Stars, who I think are playing the best hockey in the NHL right now. They had an insanely hard start to the season where you play the Winnipeg Jets at Winnipeg. Jonathan Taves, Connor Hellebuck, these guys want to get off to a good start. They beat the Winnipeg Jets. Then they go to Colorado to play the Colorado Avalanche. Landeskog first game at home. You got Makar, you got everybody else. Everybody's jacked up. They beat them 5-4. Now they finally go home. They're playing the Minnesota Wild right now as I speak, and I believe they were up. Now they're up 2-0 at the end of the first. It's a hard start of the season to go Winnipeg, Colorado, and then home to play the Minnesota Wild. 3 teams that made the playoffs last year. 2 teams that should be in the Stanley Cup final mix at the end of the season, and maybe the Minnesota Wild of Kirill Kaprizov can score 104 goals. And they're playing great hockey. They really, really are. So look out for the Dallas Stars. I know the Oilers are going to be there because they've revamped the roster with Roslovic and McDavid's contract, but if there was a team in the Western Conference who has something to play for, I know everybody thinks the Edmonton Oilers, they made the Stanley Cup Finals 2 years in a row, Game 7s, they got to be hungry. The Dallas Stars, you guys, have been the most consistent team in the regular season for 5-6 years now. It has translated to playoff success, but not the success that they want. They want a Stanley Cup ring. They want to play for a Stanley Cup final. And I think this year is their year. I really earnestly do. I think they have a great team. I think Ottinger's going to win the Vezina. I think these guys are primed and ready to go. So I don't know. Like I said, I'll say this probably 15 more times this episode. It's very, very early, but it is ever so important to get off to a good start. And the Dallas Stars, being a perennial Stanley Cup favorite, are playing great hockey. And they're being led by Mikko Rantanen, who's playing lights out already. He's got 4 points, maybe 5 points now. I didn't check who got that last goal versus the Wild, but he had 4 points in 2 games. And then everybody's just following suit. So keep your eyes out for the Dallas Stars. Keep your eyes out for the Carolina Hurricanes. I know last show I said Florida-Edmonton final. I'm going to change my mind. Maybe a Carolina-Dallas final would be really, really fun. Wouldn't it? 2 new teams, a little bit of fresh air. All right, moving on. Talking about teams that having good starts, Toronto Maple Leafs. What do you make of this team? They start the season off great, then they play the vaunted Detroit Red Wings. What? The vaunted Detroit Red Wings? And then they get swept 2 straight games by the Red Wings, and you're going, what the heck's going on? I thought this team was primed and ready for a good start. They beat the Montreal Canadiens opening night, then they just get waxed by the Red Wings the next night when they were up 2-0, and then the Red Wings come back and scores 5 straight goals to win that game 6-3 final. Then you get revenge maybe the next night and you lose 3-2. While they beat the Nashville Predators tonight 7-4. I just don't know what to make of the Toronto Maple Leafs. You've given up 15 goals in 4 games, Toronto. Yes, you've scored 17, but this is a Craig Berube coached team that is usually typically pretty solid on defense. Last year they were top 10. They only let in 231 goals. The year before that, I think they were top 5. What is going on, Toronto? Was Mitch Marner that important to you on defense? I know it's early. I'll say it again. It's early, but they're on pace to give up over 300 goals. Anthony Stolarz, back from injury. He was supposed to be the answer. I drafted him in my fantasy league. He's been terrible. What do we need to do, Toronto? We need to figure this out because you can't be giving up 4 or 5 goals a game and expect to win. I know you got some firepower, but boy, oh boy, that is not the road to success. But keep an eye out on Toronto. That's the thing. You need the defense. I know you can score goals, but defense wins championships. All right, moving on. Brady Tkachuk out 4 weeks. How will this impact the Ottawa Senators? Don't know, don't care. Let's move on to fighting. A couple heavyweight fights this week, and then we'll wrap up this show. My thing with heavyweight fights is they're all show and not a lot of go. And based on the first couple fights of this season, I think that adage works perfectly. First, it was Reeves and Ross Johnson. Ryan making his, impression felt for the San Jose Sharks. He scored a great goal that game. Blew by the defenseman, went short side on the goaltender. And then he fights Ross the Boss Johnson. And it's a fun, entertaining fight where they're swinging. Not a lot of connection. And I'm not here sitting, and I was talking with Luch earlier today, Milan, we're buddies, about the state of fighting in the NHL and how it is a lot of show. And when you do get that odd fight, and this is why when Rempe came into the league, it was such an anomaly, and everybody grabbed onto him, and everybody was just enamored with him. It wasn't because he was winning fights. It was because he was getting punched in the face, and he was punching guys in the face, and you could see the damage. You could see his black eyes and his busted nose and his cut up lip. You could see the guys who he punched was getting stitches and blood everywhere. That's rare these days. It's rare when you see a fight and someone connects and there's blood. Very rare because nobody connects anymore. And when they do, it's on a visor, it's on a helmet because everybody plays defense. Nobody wants to get hit. And when they do get hit, it's usually a visor or a helmet. So the optics of Matt Rempe and his black eyes and the blood, people loved it. They're like, what is this? We're not used to this. And so when I, go to hockeyfights.com and I go, oh, okay, here we go. Reeves Johnson, this is going to be great. And I dial it up and I watch the fight and I watch it again and again and again. I come away feeling empty. Not one punch landed. Not one punch landed. A lot were thrown. A lot of glancing shots. A lot of back of the heads. A lot of just, glancing off the helmet. And Ross Johnson has the biggest visor in the game. I'm convinced of it. Like, what the hell are we doing there, Ross? It's almost embarrassing at this point. But it just leaves me, wanting more. And then I go, oh, well, Curtis McDermott, first fight for the Ottawa Senators, fighting the big boy. First year in the NHL, Curtis Douglas for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Apparently he's 6'9", but he's fought before in the AHL and he knows what he's doing. So his first big fight in the NHL is with one of the toughest guys in the league. And it's a shit fight. It's just a couple big guys maybe throwing a little bit, and then McDermott falls down. And like, what are we doing here? It's not enjoyable. It's not fun. So when I look at the NHL and I look at the fights, I'm like, okay, I would rather watch like a Ryan Longberg fighting a Tucker from St. Louis. That's an enjoyable fight because I know maybe someone lands a punch. So I don't know. We're going to have Joey Kosher on the show tomorrow. I'm going to talk to him. He was of an age where it was just like, you need to, it wasn't for the faint of heart. 80% of the punches landed and your face was mashed potatoes and your hands were completely just done. And then I got Dylan McElrath coming on the show next week. And Dylan is a solid fighter. Then I'm going to get Luch on the show. And we're going to talk to Luch. So we're going to have fighters, and I want to get their perspective on this. Is it enjoyable for you to watch a heavyweight fight these days? Because for me, I'm sorry, it's not. I would much rather watch a middleweight fight than a heavyweight fight these days, just because nothing lands. And I want it to land. And I want to see pain. I want to see blood. That's what we come for. But we didn't get it so far. But anyways, everybody, I appreciate the support. I will be back this week. Like I said, we got Joey Kosher coming on. We got a couple more interviews. And we'll just be breaking down the season, man. The season's in full swing. We're back to 2 shows a week. I'm loving it. I hope you're loving it. Tell your friends. If you're not a member of the Patreon, what are you doing? It's a blast. We have fun every single day. I sit there and talk to the boys and girls. It's a good time. If not, I don't care. Just enjoy the show. I'll talk to everybody later. Cheers, everybody.